The Villains Demand reviews Ant-Man, an MCU Phase 2 film, directed by Peyton Reed.
Hey guys, this is The Villains Demand. I'm Evan the Great, this is Justin Von Doom, and this is Hero Man. Today we're going to bring you a movie review over Marvel's Ant-Man. It's been out for a while. It's out on tape now. If you get the chance, I like DVD.
Tape?
DVD. It's been a while.
God, tape. You got VCR? Man, if you could find this on tape, you could put it on eBay.
Yeah. It's out on DVD now. It's good. It's got that. If you haven't seen it, it's a little different than what Marvel generally does. Marvel's mainly action-packed with a little bit of that comedy. This is a lot of comedy with a little bit of action, I felt. And I thought they did a really good job. A lot like Guardians of the Galaxy. They did a really good job at keeping the balance and making it fit the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This movie, Scott Lang is Ant-Man. Hank Pym's older. He's given up the role of Ant-Man. You get to see very little of him actually play the Ant-Man, and a lot of that's through like old videotapes or a flashback or whatever. So Scott Lang he's actually a thief, and I thought that part of the movie was great. How they showed why Scott Lang is in the position that he's in. He's not doing it because he likes
Why he's chosen and
whatnot. Why he's chosen, and it gives you a strong background of why you would choose this person to be the next Ant-Man. Yeah, he's a thief. He's been in prison, but
gives you a reason why he'd be a good hero.
Why has he been in prison? Why, and I understand, you know what I mean? But when it comes to family, family's everything, and I thought they did a great job at that. And then the comedy behind it, I thought also was great. Just little bitty stuff like when he's learning to be Ant-Man, and the little ants, he's like, oh, they're not dangerous, and he's petting them, and then he gets swarmed by them, he's like, ah, and out of the dirt. You're like, oh, that's kind of funny. And then it shows him in there again, and he's in there with the giant ants. He's like, oh god, out of dirt. And they used, I thought, like simple comedy. I didn't feel like any of the comedy in the movie was forced. And that's what I enjoyed about it. And like trying to jump through keyholes, slamming into the door. Little stuff like that make you laugh a little bit. That isn't forced, to me, is always good to put in a movie. I like the movie through and through. One of my favorite out-of-the-box characters was his buddy he met in prison.
Lewis?
Is that his name?
The Mexican guy?
Yeah.
Yes, I
Lewis.
love him. Yeah.
He's a hilarious character. When he goes to start telling a story, it's just on and on and on.
His mannerisms,
But one thing I liked about him is when he first gets out, he's like talking about having to fight their ritual to get out of prison.
I'm the only guy to knock him out.
Yeah, he's like, I'm the only guy to knock him out.
Like he's proud of that.
Yeah, and you're like, what? How did he knock out that dude? Because this is a massive dude. And then you find out when he's helping Scott Lang.
He punches a lot of people.
He one-shots a lot of people. This dude's packing a punch. Like, he, boom, just laying them out.
Good character build-up.
Yeah, it's a good character build. Because the whole time I'm like, this dude's a little punk. He's probably lying. Because that's kind of his personality, you would think. That this guy's just lying about knocking him out, trying to make himself look good. No, I believe he knocked that dude out. And I really enjoyed that character. My favorite part, actually, about that character, to go back to him a little bit, is when you ask somebody, like, how'd you make that sandwich? I would tell you how to make it. This guy would start off and he'd be like, well, I got out of bed, I brushed my teeth, I did all that. He would go through his whole damn day and then go to the sandwich bar. Wrong details.
Yeah, exactly. Wrong details. I thought the movie is great. It's one of my top 3 favorite Marvel films. Winter Soldier being 1, Iron Man being 2, this being 3. I love a good character origin, and I think of all the origin stories that Marvel has gave so far, this is my second favorite. Iron Man's still my favorite overall. I like it better than Thor. I like it better than Captain America. Guardians of the Galaxy, you haven't got your origin there yet. But, I don't know, you got Daredevil. I didn't think about all that. But, this is like my 3rd favorite Marvel movie. It's great. I don't think there's ever a dull moment. I know a lot of people, some people are very iffy about Paul Rudd being Ant-Man. I thought he did great. Played a great Scott Lang.
Yep.
Michael Douglas, from right, playing Hank Pym. Perfect for a role. A lot of people were just like, at first when they said it was Michael Douglas, people were like, oh, and then they're like, oh, we're not doing Hank Pym. We're doing Scott Lang. And it still worked out great. I don't think anybody in this anybody in the movie does a bad job on anything. I think it's damn near perfect.
It is.
I don't think the movie has any low points.
No.
Like I said, there's not a lot of action. All your action probably happens in the last 20 minutes. Well, except for the Falcon fight, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Most of your action is the last 20 minutes of the movie, and they keep you entertained. Like I said, with comedy, backstory, training. It's very, very well written. I know they had a lot of problems with directors, I think, on the movie, but I think even through all of that, unlike Fantastic Four, it ended up really good.
Talking about characters, Hank's daughter, was to become the new Wasp. Her character between her and Hank, and how she's like, basically infiltrated, Pymtech. Yeah, I was trying to think of the name of it. Pymtech. And she's in there keeping an eye on him, seeing how close he is to getting the Pym Particles, how close he is to doing it himself and everything. But through all that, you still get that sense of vibe that Hank hasn't been there for her. He hasn't been a good dad, but she loves him because he is a dad. And she knows he loves her, but he hasn't been there for her. And
she resents him a lot.
Yeah, she resents him a lot, but she still loves him and she wants to do right by him. And then you get a lot of that, like their arguments and stuff between them, because he won't let her wear the suit because he loves her so much that her mom died wearing the suit, and he can't bear losing her, and she can't see that. She don't see it that way until Scott Lang goes out there and talks to her about it. But there's moments where she's just so mad and he can't figure out how to get the ants to do what he wants. She grabs it and puts it on, and she's got them covering the lights and just all over.
Now, she's practiced so much with it.
She wants this role so much, and she's so deserving that he can't see it because he can't bear to see her lose, the loser, and she can't see from his point of view that he can't bear to lose her. So their interests block each other. You know, they refuse to see it from the other person's side.
Well, and she also knows that he's lying to her.
Yeah.
About her mother.
Yeah.
Like, it's always the same story about the plane crash, and she knows it.
Yeah.
And you know that's the biggest thing is like that's her biggest thing for hating him is she knows it's a lie. She wants the truth, and he won't do it. And and it takes literally Scott Lang for the truth to come out.
And then he ruins it, which is another fun part.
That is fucking hilarious.
They're having their heart-to-heart moment about how her mom died and why he can't bear to let her wear the suit and all this.
It's the most emotional part of the movie.
The most emotional part. And then Scott Lang steps in and just ruins it all. He's all like, oh yeah guys, and I don't remember exactly what he says, but he absolutely ruins it. And then he realizes what he did. He's like, I just ruined the moment, didn't I?
I'm gonna go make some tea.
Yeah, and little stuff like that that's not forced is great because it kept to the theme of the movie of the comedy. You know what I mean? It didn't get all hearty-feely after that forever because they let you know what was going on and they touched at your heart a little bit and then boom, back to what the movie has been doing, and they didn't ruin it by doing it. I thought it was very well played.
And even as fans, you're right there, you're finally seeing the Wasp.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this is great. Look at all this emotion, and he even as fans, you're getting that first glimpse of the Wasp. He even ruins that for you too.
Yeah.
Man, one of the parts I like is actually also it's in the beginning of the movie kind of is where Scott just gets out of prison and his buddies are trying to like, we found the score, man, you need to do this, you need to get this rich house, they go through all the thing and then he tells the story like he always does, and it's where he actually has to go and steal. He don't know he's doing it, but he steals the Ant-Man suit. I think it's clever to show that how smart Scott is, even though he's the comedian in this. It shows that he is very intelligent, and he can just break lock after lock, and then it's funny because he thinks he does all this, and actually Hank let him do it. And I really like the way that they did that, and I like when he first puts the suit on and he gets small and he falls in the bathtub. It was so great to show all the smarts he had, and then all the like, what is this? And then it does it. And one of the characters I really liked in the movie was the Cross guy.
David Cross?
Yes.
The villain.
He came off as a very good villain to me because he's a businessman villain. He's all about getting this tech and selling it. And it's just really cool to watch how he is so into this, and he ain't going to stop till he finds out how to do it. But he wants it for totally different reasons than what Hank created the formula for.
Well, he's not your typical Marvel movie villain where he's in it for power.
Yeah.
Like, he just wants to be accepted again by Hank, because he even talked when he goes back to the when they're making the plans to break into Pymtech, he's there, and he even talks about, he's like, why don't you care for me anymore? And that's just what he's just like Hope. It's just that they wind up taking different paths at the end of it. You know, he just wants Hank to accept him and love him like he used to. You know, he's like, "What did you see in me?" And he's like, "Myself." And he's like, "Well, then what changed?" He's like, "I've seen too much of you and myself." And right there is a cutting off point for David Cross. He knows, yep, I should have killed you there, and that's what he's wanting to do. And I think that's what makes him such a great villain. He's not your typical Marvel cinematic villain. He's not like Loki, who just wants power. He's not like Red Skull, who just wants power. He just wants to be, in the end, accepted. And then if Hank's not going to accept him, well, he's going to, you know, help Hydra.
It made for a huge, good story plot to see all that transpire. And through the movie, man, one of the parts I really liked is Scott Lang trying to get his daughter back, because this is what it's all about for him. Is he comes back and he's like, "How can I see her?" And then his mom throws down the law like, "You got to get this, this, and this." He added it all up, and he's like, "I can't wait that long."
And if you don't know, Cassie Lang, stature, she's a young Avenger. Kind of throw that out there.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that either. I felt like him trying to get his daughter back, not to interrupt you, was the anchor of the movie. It's what grounded him to why he was doing what he was doing.
Well, they make Scott Lang very human. They make him like us. For one, like, you find out he's in prison because he basically done what every person who hates their job does. He wants to screw the man, and he does. He finds out the business he works for stealing money. And he does. He takes all the money, gives it back to all the people, then drives his boss's car in a pool.
Yeah.
And then they drag you in with he's the father that's divorced. He's wanting to do the best he can, but, you know, it's failing on him, and that's all he wants to do is provide for his daughter. I mean, literally, they make him the everyday average person. And that's what draws you into loving his character. More than where you get Tony, who's your playboy billionaire that just wants to party. Captain America, who is a hero from the day he gets changed, you know. Everybody automatically loves these people because they're heroes, and he just wants to be your normal, everyday father.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite part of the movie is a weird part, probably. It ain't really weird, but my favorite part of the movie is when he goes to her birthday party and he gets her the ugly bunny.
Well,
and she's like, "I love it."
She's like, she's like, "You're late." He's like, "I didn't know what time it was." Well, the time was on the invitation, and then you find out he didn't get one because he's not supposed to be there.
I just thought that was a great part of the movie, and I like the scene where he's just, you know, it's him and her new stepdad, and then they're in the kitchen later on after he's looking for Scott because he breaks out of prison. Every scene they're together, you get to see his daughter's. She wants her father back so bad, and you see that through the film, and it's so cool because she don't know what he's doing, and he's doing exactly what the mother wants to do. She just don't know. He's working as hard as he can to get her back, and of course he can't do it regular.
Yeah, the results aren't showing. You know,
he's got a felony
because Baskin Robbins always catches you.
That scene was awesome.
Yeah,
that was funny. Man,
that dude would be.
You didn't do a violent crime. You did a cool.
Which I told Evan the Great when we watched it. I said that dude would play an awesome penguin. He looked like a penguin.
Oh God, yeah, he did. That
but that's a story for another day. My favorite part is, I'll be generic about it because I'm sure it's most people's favorite part, is the world's most epic little fight.
Yes.
They're both, him and Yellow Jacket, they're shrunk down and they're throwing down. It starts in a helicopter. He ends up killing, the Yellow Jacket kills the pilots, the helicopter's crashing. They get put in a suitcase and they're in there fighting and it's falling through the sky. And he's like, and he hits the iPod, jumps off of it, and he says, "I'll disintegrate you."
Play disintegrate.
Yeah, play and disintegrate. And so you got the salt throwing down, they hit the pool, and they get out. One of them gets hit into the bug zapper. Yellow Jacket.
He swats him with a ping pong paddle.
Yeah, because he gets big and swats the Yellow Jacket with a ping pong paddle. You know, all this is epic. And then they finish it, the actual main fight there, in his daughter's room on a little train track that they got.
Thomas the Train. That's funny when he falls off. He's like,
yeah,
and it just falls off.
I found that fight scene, not only was it epic,
it was funny.
It was funny because they weren't even trying to be funny. Like, he gets in front of the train, he's like, "Oh," and it flips over, and then they start grabbing, because, you know, they got their full strength. They're grabbing pieces of this train, and throwing it at the other one like they're really going to do some damage. They're throwing it and they're like, no, blasting them. I'm like, why don't you just swat it out the way? I mean, it's like...
Well, he does there for a couple of them.
Yeah,
swat them.
At first they're like blasting them and stuff, like they're really throwing pieces of trains at each other. And I thought that was hilarious through the fight. And then he gets in the little bucket with all the Legos and he's running and throwing the Legos out and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, every little part of it, it's not meant to be funny, but it's also funny because it's descaled to stuff that couldn't really hurt them. But if someone throws something at you that size, instinct is blow it up and get out of the way or whatever. And so they kind of had that comedy feel in the best fight scene in the whole movie. And I love the fight scene.
The other fight scene in the movie is where they go to... I guess Avengers Academy, I guess is what you would call it.
Yeah.
And they fight the Falcon. Which, for one, I'm glad they put the Falcon in the movie. He got playtime. You watch Avengers Age of Ultron. I thought he should have been in that a little more. But no, they save him for this movie, and it plays out great. For one, they need a piece of tech to override the systems and fry them at Pym Tech when they're going to go and take the Yellow Jacket suit. So... Hank Pym's like, oh, it's an old Stark building. So Ant-Man's in the plane. He looks down. He's like, you son of a bitch. And he sees the big Avengers logo on the building. And they're like, oh, abort, abort. He's like, oh, no, this looks like no one's home. And then the Falcon shows up, and they have a great fight. And to me, it's almost, we all know Civil War at that time when the movie came out was coming. And it's a prelude of how you would probably see Ant-Man fight most of those people. It's him getting big, getting small, fighting the Falcon. And it also shows you how well Falcon's tech is, because Falcon can see him with his glasses, and he's quick enough to react to where he's getting big and getting small because they keep swatting him. But that plays into what I'm getting to. They really show you the strength of Ant-Man, from the ability to go small to go big, because they talk about how, you know, if he doesn't watch when he does this, he'll hit you with the force of a bullet and kill you, or it's a little love tap. And they really play that into this fight. Also with the ants, they do such a great job with him and the interaction of the ants. Like when they're invading Pym Tech and they're going down the water main and they're carrying him. For one, I thought, are any of these ants drowning?
That's what I thought.
Like, sure. Because they never show them like crawling over each other, like switching spots. They're just a raft. Well, but you know, they'll continue on, you know, and then he's like, I see them, and they're already waiting for him. They're crawling out of the drain. And just the way they play, they show you that, hey, he's just not all punches and grown big and small. They show you how important the ants are to his power set, and they use it really, really well in this movie. How basically they're an army.
Yeah.
It's his own army, you know. They play that up really, really well in the movie.
He even uses the bullet ants to get rid of a guard.
Yeah, exactly,
Which they are extremely painful. I've looked them up before I even watched this movie. And people that get stung by them, they're like, it's like getting hit with electricity for a solid 2 minutes. That's what the dude was describing it. He's like, it's the most pain. The dude actually vomited that I was reading about it. And then he said it just goes away and it's gone. And I'm like, oh, that would suck. Like, especially watching the movie and seeing the dude get stung on the neck and
That's
stuff.
what it's like getting tased.
Yeah, but for like solid 2 minutes, just in that one little spot, I could imagine. I would go down. That would hurt.
Another great thing about the movie is, if you watch special features, they talk about how they filmed everything as close as possible. Like the whole water scene you were talking about, you know, the test by water. They took cameras and they went down as far as they could on everything. They studied like the fibers of stuff with microscopes just to film it for this movie. Like when he falls through the cracks and he hits the record, they stuck a camera and filmed it as close as they could to the record to watch it spin, and like that's really a record right there that he is really holding on to. They filmed a lot of stuff like that to make it to seem as real as possible that he is that small and in the environments is in, and it's really neat because he's a character that, you know, to have an importance to the movie, he has to be small, so you have to get these environments right. And it goes back to, you know, where Hank tells him, you know, how the wasp died. She continued to shrink and shrink and shrink, and then she entered a quantum realm, microverse, whatever you want to call it. And then when he does that at the end of the movie to take down Yellow Jacket, you know, where you get to where he flies by like a dust mite, and all these little parasites that are in the air. And so you gotta think when he shrinks, he's just in the air.
Yeah.
You know, you ever get that? And even when he comes back, he is still in the air. That's just how small he shrinks and how slow he falls. And to jump off from the Quantumverse, when we had went and seen this with some friends of ours, remember when I said, hey, did you guys see that person in there? And now that's a thing. Did you know that?
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah, they show it. It's a flash.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah, there's a flash, and you see the person. It's like on the right side, and then they show him, and you can still see the person in his helmet. And there's a lot of people who speculate online who just. And honestly, I would not be surprised if it's like Eternity or Infinity. Almost watching him because maybe at that point no one had ever done that, and it was something new, or maybe it could be the Watcher.
That'd be cool.
But yeah, and you know, and until we know, you know, that's the, well, I guess besides the very end credit, that's like the biggest mystery of the movie is who is this person that was there? You know, who is that powerful to be in a space that small in the universe? To me, the first thing I thought it was Eternity or Infinity.
Yeah.
And for you guys who might not know who Eternity and Infinity are, they're very, very powerful, probably the most powerful cosmic forces in Marvel, up there with like the one above all, Lord Chaos, Master Law,
Living Tribunal.
yeah. But that is like the biggest mystery left in the movie, and that's who I honestly think it is. It's like one of those guys.
Yeah, I could see it being one of those, or possibly the Watcher as well. Go ahead.
On a funny note, and because I've seen it in a comic, it could, because he's getting his own movie, it could be Doctor Strange. In one of the comics,
Yeah.
they show up to get Doctor Strange's help, and they're like, we got to go down to the quantum zone realm and all this, and blah, blah, and they're talking to him, and he shrinks down, Strange is there. He's like, how'd you get here? And he's like, oh, I've got duplicates of myself, and he shrunk one down a little bitty like that. And they're like, what can you not do?
No, he's Doctor Strange.
That actually
Yeah,
is
and so-
very...
It could be. That's
It
actually a very
very
good
well
point.
could be, because, I mean, because he can do anything. I mean,
Yeah.
he is Doctor Strange. So that's just kind of something I wanted to touch on, because when you first talked about it, I was like, oh, it's Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
One big things with the movie is a lot of people didn't like Yellow Jacket being a villain. Which this movie kind of came out with the right Marvel movie of the year that came out with Age of Ultron. To give you a little history, Yellow Jacket is actually Hank Pym back in the past. He actually created Ultron. Well, on Age of Ultron, Tony and...
Yeah, they changed it.
They change it, you know, where it's more Tony and Banner and the whatever gym that they wind up being with the Mind Gem, yeah, to create Ultron. And a lot of people's like, oh, well, you know, Yellow Jacket's not really a villain. Well, at that time he was. They say he was controlled by Ultron in the comics, but yes, he was a villain at one time. It was Hank Pym, which I think was great to actually give you an aspect of Hank Pym in the comics and make it a villain. Darren, whatever it is, Cross is actually a villain, a Ant-Man villain. He just doesn't ever become Yellow Jacket. And I thought they did a really good job of bringing the evil side of Hank Pym that once was and getting rid of it in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so there's no confusion.
Yeah.
And a lot of people had a lot of problem with that when the movie first started. I think it ended up great. I really love the yellow jacket design. In a way, with the arms, it kind of reminded me of a sense of Smythe from the Spider-Man series. Remember the cartoon, how he had the little things that grew out of his back and they were kind of like lasers?
Yeah.
That's what that reminded me of, with a blend of like Dr. Octopus.
I kind of get Blue Beetle from...
yeah, I can see that. Yeah, the current
Yeah,
Blue
Justice.
Beetle.
The
Yeah,
suit
I can see
itself
that.
definitely
Yeah.
looked like Blue Beetle.
I can see that. A lot of people had a problem with him, and I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was actually really, really good.
I like the fact that they took...
And you had control, and they had to have a way to make a villain his size.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know.
I like the fact that they make him his size. Another thing to me, when you say Yellow Jacket to the common person, that sounds like a bad guy to me.
Well, it's not a big. Well, Hank Pym's been Yellow Jacket for years.
I'm just saying that the name itself,
Yeah.
somebody who don't know the character, sounds like a bad guy. But I like that as well. The fight scene and all that with the Yellow Jacket, and you kind of see that he's different than Ant-Man, where he uses tech, being that small, his blast and all that to fight. And then Hank's using what all they taught him to, use his ability to shrink and grow together to be a good combat. But another part of the movie that I like, that we ain't talked about yet, is when they're actually going to break into Pym Tech. I like how they had the night before where they're all like trying to tell the guys all they're doing, and he's wanting to bring the guys in. And he's like, no, they're not coming. And he gets them in anyway.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see. Basically, they fall asleep. I can't remember how she did. He puts them to sleep.
She drugs them.
Yeah, she drugs them because they're kind of like idiots, but they're not.
They're like Albert Einstein. They're really smart, but deep down inside they're an idiot.
Yes, and it's so great. Like, he's going to go to the compound. He's like, can I whistle? He's like, oh, you cannot whistle.
Yeah. I've got a tactic. Like, I'm going to whistle to try to blend in. No. And doesn't he end up whistling?
Yeah, he's whistling.
Yeah, he does
He does it anyway.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I wanted to talk about me personally. I've always been big on with my imagination of wondering what it would be like if I could shrink down and still have my regular density and power and all that. I've always thought that. I've always thought it was cool, and I've always in my head imagined myself like running through mouse holes and fighting spiders, and that part of the movie touched home with me because I actually got to see it. Everything I've imagined since I was little, I almost got to see it. You get to see him going through the cracks and in the bathroom and you know, all the spider webs and how big stuff is to him.
The rat.
Yeah, and then he runs through. Oh, it might have been a mouse.
But I want to say it was a rat.
Whatever it was, he ran into that hole, and you get to see how big and terrifying that would be.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that part because it touched home with me personally. One of my biggest like imaginations, like something I thought would always be cool to be able to do that. And then they play on that when he jumps onto that little 3D model of Pym Tech.
Yeah.
And he's running, and they're shooting bullets at him, and he's jumping, and the bullets are like this big to him.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's jumping and he's running through that building and stuff. I thought that part was really cool. And they're shooting that plastic and it.
Yeah, see, that's why I was going back a while ago. They filmed that. They actually built that and done that to it and filmed it and just put him in it.
Yeah, I mean, it was that part was really cool too. You know, because you get to see what it'd be like to be that little. You know, the whole movie isn't just based on seeing him get big and then can't see him. Like, you get to follow him when he's little. Kind of like when you watch a movie with a speedster in it. You expect to get to see what it's like when they're running at super speed. They do it in all of them. That's one of the biggest things. Because it's imagination. You want to know.
Yeah.
And I was the same way, and I wanted to know since I was little what it'd actually be like. And I thought they did a great job at following that.
Into the movie, you've got obviously your mid-credit scene, which is the wasp suit, which everybody was kind of expecting. They've already announced that they were doing Ant-Man and Wasp as the sequel. And then there's the end, the very last credit, where you got Bucky in a vice with Captain America and Falcon.
I'm still clueless on that.
Well, at first, when I first watched the movie, I thought, okay, yeah, that's happening in like Avengers Academy, and that maybe Ant-Man done that. And then when I watched it, no, it's not. It has nothing to do with that at all because Falcon's like in street clothes.
Didn't when Ant-Man fought him, and then Falcon tell Cap, he's like, when I was down there, I seen something. He brings him down there. I can't remember how that played.
I don't know. To me, there's a little bit of confusion there because, like I said, he's dressed in street clothes. He's not like. Why would he like? Because he went down there and they bust out of the building like when they're fighting. So, like, and a lot of people assume that Ant-Man put him in there, and I don't see how that works because, like I said, he's in street clothes. Cap is got like it looks like Cap was in a fight, but he's got grease and. Winter Soldier looked like he was like, because he's bleeding like at the top of his head. He looks like he got his ass whooped.
I don't know. He could have been fighting Ant-Man down there, and he could have tricked him when he put in his arm there. Like he could have been little, and then when he swung, he could have,
he could have shrunk the vice, put it on his arm.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, but see, that's what I'm talking about, though. To me, that don't make sense because, like I said, Sam Wilson is in his street clothes down there. I can't see him getting dressed out and going down there, which is obviously it's a clip from Civil War.
There's something going on because
And then when she says, "I know a guy," which obviously it's got to be Ant-Man because they tie that in at the end of the movie.
And touching on that, they almost name drop Spider-Man.
They do name drop Spider-Man.
Well, they don't say Spider-Man. Yeah,
got men across the walls.
Yeah. And that's another great part of the movie is because again, like everyone was saying, that guy's going through his storytelling. And he told a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy. He goes through all that.
Yeah.
And then it finally gets to that point. She's like, I got a guy.
I'm looking for a guy.
Crawls on walls.
We got guys everywhere.
Yeah. And, crawls on walls and shoots webs. And I'm like, oh!
Which I like that because they name drop in Winter Soldier Doctor Strange.
Yep.
They say, I remember they said Stephen Strange. I was just like,
Strange, yeah.
I gotta get my hands out of pants. So, but that's about it for our review on Ant-Man. Watch it. Highly recommend it. Like I said, it's one of my top 3 movies. Yeah, these guys love it. For Villains Man, Justin Von Doom, Serial Man. That's Ed and the Great. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, watch us on YouTube. Catch you next time.